Delays in the NBA are common. A game was once delayed because a water cannon went off by accident, which ended up soaking fans.
This is the most asinine, ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
A game was once stopped because a team was wearing the wrong jerseys and the refs couldn't tell them apart. In 2022, a speaker caught on fire in the Raptors stadium, and then 11 months later, in 2023, the Raptors had a microphone catch on fire.
We are being asked to slowly and calmly evacuate the building.
People are always spilling things on the court, like when Jason Kidd had a player intentionally spill soda on him for a timeout. Fans ran on the court. Wild animals ran on the court. And of course, some of them ended up pooping on the court. And at one point, during the playoffs, a player even pooped on the court. Yup, that's not a joke. We have seen games stopped due to an all-out brawl, and a game was once stopped because a player fought a fan over a frosty.
I'm sorry, I just wanted a frosty.
You'd think that a sport with an indoor stadium would be less likely to have interruptions like this, but the NBA has had so many ridiculous delays, like when in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, with the score 94-93 and only 2 minutes left, this happened.
Maxey almost, a lot of lights just went out here as they inbounded the ball.
Power outages have happened many times, but this isn't the only time that the stadium has caused a delay. In 2018, the Pelicans game was delayed because the roof was leaking so bad that it made the court unplayable. Although, the water damages here were nothing compared to the Warriors-Spurs game in 1994. Before the game, the Spurs let off indoor fireworks, which caused smoke so bad that it triggered the Spurs emergency sprinkler system. This was not an ordinary sprinkler system. It was a full-on water cannon. The cannon unleashed huge quantities of water that soaked fans. Fans across the stadium scrambled to leave as they tried to pull out umbrellas and fled to their seats. Nobody could figure out how to stop the water, and it kept getting worse. 12,000 gallons of water was spilled into the crowd and onto the court over the span of 10 minutes. It's safe to say that this game did not start on time. This was an unintentional spill that resulted in a delay, but one time there was an intentional spill that stopped the game. In 2013, the Brooklyn Nets were down 2 points with 8.3 seconds left. They had no timeouts and desperately wanted to stop the game. To buy time and draw up a play, Jason Kidd decided to create his own delay. He told his player Tyshawn Taylor to hit him, and then Taylor proceeded to walk right into Kidd, who spilled his cup of soda all over the court. The plan worked, and officials called a timeout to clean up the spill. Kidd was able to use the delay as a timeout and draw up a final play. Paul Pierce proceeded to miss the game-tying shot, and the Nets lost the game. Jason Kidd also lost as he admitted to doing it on purpose, which landed him a $50,000 fine. A harmless spill won't break the court, but these giants of the NBA could. In 1979, the 76ers center, Darryl Dawkins, was dunking so hard that he broke the backboard twice in 3 weeks. The NBA was pissed at Dawkins and told him every time he broke a rim, he would be fined $5,000. The NBA at the end of the season was done delaying games due to broken rims and implemented a new, stronger breakaway rim, and the problem was resolved. That was until Shaquille O'Neal came to the NBA. Shaq is known for being one of the strongest NBA players ever. This was on full display when he completely pulled down a whole basket against the Suns, causing a 35-minute delay. Later that season, Shaq pulled down another backboard with this vicious dunk. This caused an even longer delay than the first time, and the NBA had to change the construction of the backboard and its support once again to prevent this. These dunks were so powerful that some in attendance said it felt like an earthquake. Well, that actually happened in one game. In 2019, the first overall pick, Zion Williamson, was facing off against the third overall pick, RJ Barrett, in one of the most hyped up Summer League games of all time. The story of the game was not what happened on the court, but what happened under it. There was a level 6.9 earthquake, and it caused the whole stadium to shake. The scoreboard and speakers hanging from the ceiling were moving, and employees were afraid they could fall. All players were removed from the court before the rest of the game ended up being postponed. This was an uncontrollable event that caused a delay, but what's bad is when a delay occurs due to something that the team can control. This happened when the Grizzlies and Thunder were about to start their game, but there was a problem. Both teams were wearing white. The Grizzlies were supposed to wear blue uniforms, and the whole game was delayed because the Grizzlies were sent back to their locker room to change.
We will postpone the start until Memphis can get the right jerseys on.
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. But celebrating too early might be even more embarrassing. In Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, the Sixers had a chance to tie or win the game, down 2 points with 1.7 seconds left. The Sixers drew up a perfect play. They got it to Marco Bellinelli in the corner for the tie, and he drilled a buzzer beater. The game is going to overtime, but the confetti people didn't get the memo and dropped the confetti as if the Sixers won the game. This caused a brief delay to clean up the confetti that made it onto the court. To make things even more embarrassing, the Sixers went on to lose the game in overtime. Moral of the story, don't let off confetti too early. Although, during the Hawks-Celtics playoff game, the confetti randomly started falling during the first quarter. The cause of the confetti was never revealed, but it's possible some of the employees may have hit the wrong button.
There is a legitimate confetti issue right now.
Cool features like confetti make the experience of going to a basketball game even better, except when they become dangerous. In a Pistons game, they had a fog machine on the concourse since it was going to be used for the Halloween halftime show. However, the machine malfunctioned and started releasing fog while the game was still going on. The game went into a delay as the fog was all across the first row of fans and was making its way onto the court. Then, another halftime show became a safety concern when Hornets mascot Super Hugo jumped through the ring of fire. The fire on the ring didn't turn off as intended, and everyone had to watch as the staff struggled to put it out, which resulted in a delay. This wasn't the only time fire caused a delay. In 2022, a speaker caught on fire in the Raptors arena and the game was delayed. Firefighters had to hang from the ceiling to put this fire out. The game was delayed and this was a scary moment. What's crazy is 1 year later, the Raptors had another fire. This time, the Raptors play-by-play announcer's microphone caught on fire. The game was delayed to put this fire out in another bizarre and scary moment. What's also scary is when animals get loose during games. San Antonio is located on the path bats take to migrate to Mexico, so over the years they've had a constant bat problem, causing delays. Although, Manu Ginobili took matters into his own hands, swiping a bat out of mid-air to stop a delay. Then, when bats were back another time, their mascot put on a Batman costume and caught the bat with a net to save them from another delay. Ginobili and Coyote mascot, 2, bats, 0. Nobody wants a bat on the court, but who doesn't love a dog? This good boy ran on the court during a game. Luckily, the delay was quick since Dennis Rodman picked him up and brought him back to his owner. In the 2021 season, teams across the league did a promotion with PetSmart to do puppy races at halftime. Although, this didn't go as planned. The dogs either refused to run, ran the wrong way, or peed on the court. This caused a few minor delays across the league. Another dog incident happened during a Bucks game when this Chihuahua pooped on center court. The dog show trainer didn't even notice this, and the game was delayed while they cleaned up the poop. It isn't just animals. One time, a player pooped on the court. During the 2008 NBA Finals, a dramatic moment unfolded when Paul Pierce suddenly crumbled on the hardwood. He was carefully carried away, eventually making his exit to the locker room on a wheelchair. Everyone thought Pierce was seriously hurt, but miraculously, he returned to the game shortly after. Fans have been suspicious of this moment for years, and a few years ago, he finally gave us the truth.
I have a confession to make. I just had to go to a bathroom.
But why did you need a wheelchair to get to the bathroom?
It was that bad.
Something went down. I had to get it.
Oh.
It turns out fans' conspiracy theories were true, but what happens when the fans cause a delay? Like this young fan who ran onto the court to hug Melo. This was a very wholesome and harmless moment, but sometimes fans can cross the line. Like this fan, who ran on the court and superglued her hand to the floor in act of protest for animal rights. Then, a few days later, another fan chained herself to a basket and refused to leave the game in a protest effort for animal rights. Security had to cut the chain, then pick her up and carry her out of the game, where she was later arrested. This protest happened a third time when another lady tried to run out onto the court during a game a few days later. But security was prepared for it this time, and this guard laid her out. This kind of security deserves a raise. Not only does security kick fans out of games for crossing the line, but so does LeBron. One game, he was so fed up with the fans' trash talk that he got officials to stop the game and went over and kicked out a fan. The fan then mocked him and called him a crybaby. Fans can be the worst sometimes. During a Sixers-Wizards game, the game got delayed because Isaiah Thomas ran into the crowd to confront a fan who was cursing at him. The reason behind this was rather unusual.
I'm running back and the fan has both of his middle fingers up and said "bitch" 3 times. And his response was, "I'm sorry, I just wanted a frosty." Because if you miss 2 free throws, I guess the fans get a frosty.
Who doesn't want a free frosty? But this altercation was nothing compared to the craziest delay in NBA history. It's November 19th, 2004. The Pacers are facing off against the Pistons in the rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals. With less than a minute left, Ben Wallace was fouled hard by Ron Artest. Wallace let his emotions get the best of him, and he shoved Artest. This led to a benches-clearing brawl, but Artest separated himself from the fight and laid down on the scorer's table. While laying down on the table, a fan threw a cup of beer on Artest's face. Artest sprung into action and charged the crowd to fight the fan who hit him. Although, Artest attacked the wrong fan, then the fan who actually hit Artest threw him in a headlock. More beers went flying, and now Steven Jackson is in the crowd fighting fans. Artest was able to get out of the crowd, but then got into another fight with a fan on the court. Then Jermaine O'Neal came flying in to defend Artest and made things worse. All players were escorted to the locker room after the brawl as they were mauled by beers flying at them. Ben Wallace was suspended for 6 games, Jermaine O'Neal was suspended for 15 games, Steven Jackson was suspended for 30 games, and Ron Artest was suspended for the rest of the season. The players involved all went to court, and the fan who started this disaster saw jail time. The rest of the game was never finished, and this moment might go down as the craziest delay in NBA history.